Well, congrats to President Trump. He was sworn in on Monday, and buckle up, as it should be quite a first 100 days if day one is any indication. Hey, Monday also was quite a day for all the activities in Washington. MLK Day, the Monday Night Football National Championship. But guys, I mean, we're going to talk way more about it, but what an awful weekend. I mean, Saturday, the Pistons, Wings, and of course the Lions lost. We have that postmortem coming, and on top of that, the Buckeyes win the national championship. I mean, we've delayed this broadcast, not intentionally, but probably has been good.
It's kind of evil, man, because I'm kind of finally maybe over it, and now we're just gonna dive back into the foxhole for another 30 minutes. So
right.
We'll do it, but I was just getting over this damn thing.
I know.
Well, and you kind of left out all the coaches leaving too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's not like if we're recording Thursday morning. If you think back to a week ago, Thursday morning, we were feeling good. Right. Lions about to host a playoff game, the national title game, but who cares?
Right.
Well, quick question real quick, Ted. Has the Super Bowl sweepstakes submission stopped, or are you still doing that now at the Lions?
Let's give our listeners a little tease on that one. I'll get more into that when we talk the Lions. Okay.
I'm wondering if the tease is, did you actually win Super Bowl tickets? And of course the Lions didn't make it. Like
I'll close that door right now. No, I did not win tickets, but I have some thoughts on what's going on with that. By the way, this is episode 344 of the 3 Point Podcast, presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center. Over 25 fitness classes, a lot of other great stuff up there. And guys, you'll be proud of me. Last couple of weeks, I got back into it. I was out for a while. I had some hip problems and of course, good weather, but back at the healthcare center, and I forgot how much I missed it. It's awesome up there.
It's funny you say that. I actually went there a couple weeks ago as well. I'm like, I mean, this is no bragging. I mean, God, I'm fat, but I've done 10 days in a row of eating good and exercising every day, and it's amazing. It blows my mind every time I do it how much better you feel. The energy. I used to like drag getting out of bed in the morning. Now it's like I pop right up, and I'm sure you probably feel pretty similar. Even just getting in some steps every day. It's mind-boggling how our bodies would operate without doing that, and you feel the difference once you start getting around and moving. So get to the health center for sure.
We're meant to move, right? Human beings, you're meant to get up and move around. I know sometimes in the winter months it can be tough, but it's not just the physical part. I always think it's the mental part too. You feel better 100%. About yourself. When you've got up there, you got a sweat in. Maybe you talk to some people. You have a good time at the gym. Like the mental aspect of it, I feel like is almost better than the physical part. But
100% agree. And especially, you guys, I'm the old guy, but when you get older, the motivation's a little tougher to get up and move around. So I've got that mission and it's working out real well. And I love it up there. The people are so great and a lot of good stuff going on. Also,
I got to ask real quick. Are you back to using the sauna?
Yeah. Why?
Okay. Because my father-in-law he bought a sauna. And it's pretty nice too. It's in his garage.
Those are sweet, man.
He knows all the benefits of the sauna and stuff.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, there's quite a few like you can almost call them like portable saunas.
Man.
You can buy a sauna and you basically put it up and fill the little tank with water. It warms up. You can leave it up if you want, or it's one of those things you can put up, take down in 10 minutes. Like we're seriously considering getting a sauna for post workouts or, some of those times. Because those things, there are a lot of benefits to doing that too. So I wasn't sure if you were getting back in the sauna.
How do the portable ones work well? Because I look at one every time I'm in Costco. It's not in my price range. I think it's like $1,500. You probably can't afford it. I can't, but do they work very well?
So the reviews, the ones that we've looked at are cheaper than that. There's ones that are in the $400 to $600 range. Okay. All the reviews say they work well. Do you trust the reviews 100%? I don't know, but it's probably different than the ones like at Memorial Healthcare, the wellness center, but it's probably enough for one person. Set it up, get in there, get a sweat in.
Get on with your day.
You can set it up in your garage. You can set it up in your living room, whatever. So
yeah. Well, it's a great deal up there. I use the steam room first, then go in the sauna to finish up. But everybody has hot tubs. Everybody likes to have their hot tubs. I enjoy mine. My next door neighbor, he tore his out to trade it back in. He put in a nice sauna out on his
nice.
back deck area, and it's one of those round ones,
Nice.
So it's really cool. Hey, by
so
the way,
so you're saying you became better friends with your neighbor then?
Well,
you're knocking on his door like, hey, I see that sauna over there. How about you hop in our hot tub and we come over to your sauna?
Hey, that's not a bad idea,
To me, it sounds more like neighbor wars, where you had a hot tub, he had a hot tub, so he had to upgrade to the sauna.
Yeah.
That's how I interpret that.
Well, you might be right on that. Hey, by the way, we should thank our other starting lineup of partners. They include AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, the Shiawassee County Fair, and ALS of Michigan. Before we get into our post-mortem on the Lions and other things sports related, weather up here in Michigan right now has been awful this last week or so. I just woke up this morning to see I got to go out and blow snow again. It's cold. We got the fires out in California, but the big story really is this cold snowstorm deal in the South. You're even feeling some of that, aren't you, Matt?
Yeah, I mean the same storm that you're talking about that went through and hit New Orleans and Pensacola and all, we saw all the snow down there in Atlanta, all that. It's the same system that came through and hit us. I mean, my daughter, no school yesterday. She's on a 2-hour delay today, Thursday morning. We didn't get the snow here in Charlotte, but I mean, I was telling you guys, it's been in the teens overnight, and I mean, it's just been getting into the 30s during the day. Now I think tomorrow we're getting back up 50s and stuff for that. It's going through, but no, it's kind of it's shut the city down a little bit. Luckily though, we didn't get dumped on the snow like some of those other places.
Now,
because a place like Charlotte, these cities, they can't handle this snow,
What is it just because we were talking a little pre-pod? It's the no salt trucks. It's the people just being bewildered by snow. Why? What is so hard to handle about it? I guess it's crazy to me and Ted up here in the north. It makes no sense to us. What is the deal?
I think it's all of the above. You think about Shiawassee County, anywhere in Michigan, any snowplow trucks all over the place, salt trucks. I mean, just a whole fleet of those trucks all over. Counties have all those. They don't have them down here. So I mean, I've seen like some guys that have a nice big truck and they buy a plow. They could probably charge hundreds of dollars if there's ever any snow to plow out a school or a church parking lot or something like that. So I think that's the main thing. But the other thing is the driving. Like, you chuckle at like local news stories sometimes when winter storms come around. Down here, the local news guys, they're giving people tips on how to drive in the snow. Like, that's the story. If you see snow or if you see ice, so I think that's the main thing is people down here don't know how to drive in the snow.
Yeah.
And
well, the other thing is it's tough to drive if you don't have salt or even sand and big trucks. When you get ice, that's the killer. I mean, I saw that in Houston and New Orleans and Pensacola. There's just a layer of ice, and there's not much you can do with that.
No.
Just be thankful you guys can drive. So tell me if you've heard this story before. This is a weird one that I've dealt with this week. So I get in my car. I'm coming back I went out to eat with my girlfriend, basically like a little date night the other night on Friday night. Coming back, had a good time. I go out to get out of my car, twist the key, start walking inside. I go, what the hell? My key is literally missing. It's a little flip-up key, like a Chevy 2015 flip-up key. I go, what the hell? Where's my key? I go, oh, God, I think I know what happened. I walk back into my car. It's like 0 degrees at this point outside. I walk back into my car, look in the ignition. Literally, the key is snapped off in the ignition. No way to get it out. So remember, I think I've talked about it before in this pod. I have a very kind of dumb brain. Small things that I could fix but are unfixable, they like literally break my brain and make me go into like unfit rage. So for example, this summer, if you remember, my mower stopped working when I had like 2 strips of grass left to mow, and it was all I thought about all day. I tried fixing this mower for like 5 hours, had no way to fix it, no way to figure it out, but I couldn't just leave it. So my car is stuck. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to get this damn thing towed. And it's so simple. I can just pull this key out of the ignition. So for 10, 20, 30 minutes, I'm trying pliers. I'm trying one of the best ideas I had, paperclip, bend the little end of it just like a millimeter and try to hook it inside the key and yank it out. It wasn't strong enough. I couldn't get it. Long story short, a few days later, I finally have people come to tow it on Martin Luther King Day. So my apartment entrance has 2 entrances, truck entrance, regular entrance. I call the tow, get it all sorted with my insurance, call the dealership. I'm going to get it dropped off to them in Troy. Tow truck's on its way, maybe 15 minutes away. I go and look at the gate. It's closed. I go, oh, shoot. He's not going to be able to get in. So then I run up to the office. Nobody's answering the phones. I'm calling all over the place, calling outside help numbers. I go and look at the window. This is the most annoying thing in the world. A little piece of paper on the glass. This office nobody goes to. Oh, we're closed on Martin Luther King Day. So I go, oh, shoot. I'm not going to be able to get my car towed. Called the tow truck back, send them back. Comes back the very next day. Finally get it towed. It's finally fixed. To get this key out of the ignition, $400.
Oh, man.
And now we're just back on to life. So I tell you what, although you guys are shut down there in Charlotte, at least you have the ability to drive on these extremely dangerous roads with idiots. Although I will say the one benefit, I'm looking outside my window right now, looks bitter cold, snow all over the cars. If there was a time not to have a car, it's now, because that's the worst part of the morning. Running out there, starting your car, shoveling it off. But anyway, I still haven't picked up my car yet. It's a job for tomorrow. So it's been kind of weird this week. For $7 or $8 here in Detroit, I've been Ubering to work. Really not a bad racket. It's kind of annoying when I have to make small talk for 10 minutes every morning. But other than that, it could be worse. So, but what do you guys?
You're putting your life in the hands of the Uber driver if the roads are a little snowy or icy.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Every Uber driver has a different world story. They all got 3 side businesses. It's quite fodder for the morning when I haven't had my coffee yet. So. But yeah.
So the ultimate side story. I know, Ted, you've got a story to jump in here. What you just said,
Jared. I'm just listening. This is entertaining to me. I hope it is to our listeners.
This is fantastic. So speaking of the life story, world stories of Uber drivers, my car, we were getting a couple things done. So I had an Uber, I don't know, a month or two ago to work. And I hop in. I have my work badge, on my pants, my belt loop, and it's Disney. It's an ESPN. Right. The badge I used to swipe to get in. And when I get in, I say, hey, how you doing? And he must have seen that. And because the first thing he says, oh, do you work? Are you a Disney employee? And I said, yeah, well, I work at ESPN and, Disney owns ESPN. So yeah, technically, yeah. And he was like, oh, I used to be a cast member and, kind of a little side talky. And so then I ended up asking, I was like, so what'd you do? He said, I worked at the parks. I was Chewbacca. So at one of the parks, there's a whole Star Wars area, and there's obviously a Chewbacca that walks around, and
there's like 5 Chewbaccas probably. He was Chewbacca number 3.
Right. That's what he did. I asked him, I was like, why'd you leave? He was like, politics, or I don't know. He gave me some spiel or whatever. I was like, so I just got an Uber ride from Chewbacca. All right, cool.
All right. Yeah, I don't have any real Uber stories, but I was just going to say, for $6-7, whatever it cost you, that's a pretty good deal down in your area, really.
It is kind of amazing. Like I was honestly like, obviously you'd run out of funds eventually.
Right.
Like if I sold my car today and just, started Ubering everywhere. But dude, I'm telling you, the convenience of having your own car, it's something it's like when you lose power and you go, wow. You really don't appreciate the everyday, the convenience of having power. Same thing with a car. Once you don't have a car, you realize how much you rely on it. Like, for example, I was going to a buddy's house on Saturday for the Lions game, which we'll get into for a second. And it almost maybe was a blessing because it ended up being hell, that game. But now I'm like stranded. Now I can't go anywhere.
Right.
So I just have to watch it at home. So it's just a lot of small things like that you take for granted. So.
Well, that gets us caught up. Good story there, Jared, and we'll get into the bad story next. Talk about that Lions game coming up here right after this. All right, guys. I know all 3 of us were super, super depressed after that Lions game. We'll get into the meat and potatoes of that, but I was so depressed. I said to my wife, Lana, I said, hey, listen, do you really want to go to New Orleans? And she said, well, I thought you did. I said, if we can cancel my room, I'm canceling it. We're just going to spend a week in Florida, and that's what I did. I couldn't stomach it.
I thought you loved chopping it up with the media row and wearing the Lions gear. You knew that you were going to get clowned a little bit wearing the Lions gear around. Is that why you?
No.
Or what was the thought?
No, I've been to New Orleans, and we started this little thing last year in Las Vegas. And if you go to Las Vegas, there's so much to do there.
Right.
You don't get caught up in all the other stuff, but it was still fun being a fan. And last year was the whole thing. Oh, we just missed out. This year, that loss was about as pressing a loss as you could ever have. And, like I said, I canceled my room in New Orleans. We're just going to spend a week in Florida. But my poor wife, she decided she was going to fly out and hang with Amy and the kids for a week or so. So I took her to the airport Sunday morning, right? Think about this. She's flying to DC. The plane was full of Washington fans. Oh, she got sick. I mean, sick to her stomach almost on the way out there, listening to all the cheering and all the garbage from the DC fans.
Oh, man.
But anyway, that's my side story.
It is funny because we've been talking when did you book this trip? I mean, a year ago, basically. I feel like, and we've been talking about you're going to win Super Bowl tickets. You're going to get to see the first Lions Super Bowl, and then now we're here, and you've canceled the trip.
Can we talk? There was, what my favorite tweet or image was that night? It was the tweet you had, Ted, whereas it was like a made for meme. Like, honestly, somebody could Photoshop the TV in the background to Jaden Daniels running for a touchdown to be a perfect picture.
Right.
So you took a picture in front of the TV with your Sins 57 custom hashtag jersey.
Right.
Just walk me through that photo because it was amazing and I loved it.
Oh, you liked the photo?
I did. Yeah, I thought it was very funny.
No, it was great. It was great because you posted it before the game, and with the whole idea of like we're going to retire this hashtag, and then Jared, a Commanders fan, could take it and Photoshop Jaden Daniels throwing a touchdown pass on the TV to be like, Sins 57.
It's like you're watching a war unfold.
That was just me showing my support that I'm going to be able to finally burn this jersey, and damn it, I got burned.
Right.
So can we real quick talk about, maybe because it's more present, then we'll go back to the game. So Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are gone.
Yeah.
Have you guys been seeing this negative Ben Johnson basically storyline from fans? What is your guys' thoughts on it? Then I'll give mine. It seems a little bizarre. Maybe somewhat, I'm hearing rumors that maybe it's warranted. Maybe he was already on his way out in the Lions locker room. I don't know what's true. What do you guys think of everybody basically turning on Ben Johnson the second he hit the door?
Well, I'll do just a quick response. I mean, you guys know I've used the word karma a lot. I mean, I think the karma with him, him and Glenn actually, interviewing for jobs previously, he knew he was going to probably get the Bears job. I understand the fans' irritation at it because when you think about karma, you look at a guy like Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, he has had a head coaching job before, but he says, I'm not taking any interviews. I'm not talking until we're done. And that's the part that disappointed me the most. Am I gonna, post things on how much I hate Ben Johnson or even Aaron Glenn? No, come on. I mean, they're doing better for themselves, their family. Am I happy he's going to Chicago? Not really, but the way I look at it, your first question about what do I think about him? I don't hate it. I just think personally, I think the NFL should have some different kind of plan in place that they shouldn't even be allowed to do that personally.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. I mean, he wants to be a head coach, which most coaches in whatever sport you want to be a head coach. He's getting paid $13 million a year by the Bears to go coach, last year's #1 draft pick, Caleb Williams. So, in that sense, it's like, you can't fault the guy for that. The fans that are going absolutely nuts and basically sending death threats to him and, going that extreme, it's like, all right, everyone relax a little bit. It left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, him going to Chicago, a division rival. After the egg that we just laid in that game versus the Commanders, the offense wasn't like terrible, but it definitely wasn't the best offensive game from the Lions. And I think that's what made it feel weird is it was like, so we have a bye week and you're interviewing for other jobs during the bye week, which again, that's just how the business works. But I agree with you, Ted, there needs to be a rule. Like you're in the middle of a playoff run. No interviews. What are we doing? So you're interviewing for other jobs. You lay an egg versus the Commanders, lose as the 1 seed, lose as the home field advantage, all that stuff. And then 2 days later, you're announcing you're going to Chicago. That's what made it kind of like, dude, were you already checked out? Like, I mean, were you and Goff, while you're off interviewing for all these jobs, were you and Goff talking about your game plan? Like what was going on? Because it just, that game, and we'll get to the game in a minute, but that game just felt weird the whole time. And, Aaron Glenn, the whole time, he was going to be a head coach at some point. So you knew that was going to happen. The defense, I mean, they did all they could with all the injuries and stuff. I mean, there's only so much they could do. But, Glenn, he played for the Jets. So that was like a natural, cool, go coach the Jets, go do that. But the Ben Johnson thing just feels weird, especially like you said, when you see Cliff Kingsbury say, I'm not taking any interviews until we're done with our run. So it left a bad taste. We go from 2 weeks ago, Lions fans are saying Ben Johnson, smartest football mind ever, greatest offense. And then now 2 weeks later, we're like, screw this guy.
It's amazing how quick it changes. I mean, it's all because of the J-Mo play. It's kind of, you almost got to laugh at yourself. Think about how much we love Ben Johnson and how good of a coordinator he is and all the trick plays. It's kind of ironic how all we'll remember is that final gadget play that just blew up in our face with J-Mo throwing a pass. I think that almost plays a part in it where, all right, we obviously lost this game. 2 days later, you're taking a new job. Our lasting memory of you is this horrendous call that ended up blowing up in our face. And real quick on that play, I actually didn't hate the call. I think we're all maybe on the same page. Why are you running it with Jameson Williams? That's not his bag. He's an all-time great receiver, super duper speed. I mean, you have Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra, who I would say maybe is one of the top decision makers as a receiver. Earlier in the year against Seahawks, he threw a perfect throw to Goff for a touchdown. You have Amon-Ra for that exact type of play to make the decision. Do I throw it out of bounds? Do I throw it to Gibbs? He would have made the right decision there. Williams is probably just thinking, all right, they're running this play for me. I'm going to take my advantage of it. I'm gunning this ball no matter what, and end up blowing up in our face.
Yeah.
It's weird to me why and maybe it is because it's the inner rival thing with the Chicago Bears. People really want to see the Bears lose next year. Like, I honestly think when we play the Bears, people are it's like a rivalry game.
Oh yeah.
And isn't it kind of an awesome, going to be an awesome storyline next year? We've never had coordinators poached and become head coaches somewhere. I can't wait to see the Bears. And honestly, I hope that they light it up just so that we can end up beating them next year. Right. Now, would it make me sick to my stomach if the Lions offense is slow out of the gate and Caleb Williams is looking like Jaden Daniels 2.0? That would hurt my heart. But it's really going to be sweet when we take it to the Bears come the regular season next year.
Right.
And as for Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, why is it that – and I'm sorry, I'm talking in circles. Answer this question for me. When Aaron Glenn left for the Jets, it's like, salute, thank you for everything, even though his defense looked absolutely horrendous and is the real reason we lost that game. Say what I will about the J-Mo play call. We had 28 points with 8 minutes left in the third quarter of that football game on offense. Like, what more can you do as an offense? He scored a goddamn touchdown with a high school football coach as his quarterback. So why is it when Aaron Glenn leaves, it's salute? When Ben Johnson leaves, literally people want to burn down his house when he gets his new house in Chicago. Explain that to me. I'm a little bit lost on that one.
I mean, I think the short answer is I think people see all the injuries on the defense and say, when the defense was healthy, they were actually pretty good. Injuries happened. He kept the unit together as much as he could. That would be my guess,
I agree with that. And back to your question or comment there, Jared, about that last play, they should have went with St. Brown. I wasn't disappointed with the play call either. The execution was absolutely horrendous. I mean, it was triple coverage, for God's sakes.
Right.
Throw it away or run the damn ball. But, going back to Johnson's play call, and again, you can nitpick every game. But one of the key plays in that game, which I saw it posted and I digested it. And I go, you know what? That's a great comment. Late in the first quarter, they're up 7-3. They clear out the backfield on 3rd and 1, inside the 20-yard line. I mean, you got David Montgomery back healthy. You tell him, why don't you run the ball twice or at least show that you're going to run the ball? You empty the backfield. And Goff, we know, even if you run a pass, his expertise and his skill is on play action. And then he fumbled it.
Then he fumbled it.
What's ironic is, I don't bring this up often because really wasn't even that good. I played quarterback.
You were good.
Not really. I didn't make it in your top 5 list of all-time quarterbacks.
That hurts you forever, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I hated empty, man. This is at high school. Right. You hate empty. You're a sitting duck back there. And I was maybe a little more mobile than Goff was, given my competition level. And Goff obviously can process a little quicker, where if he's spreading 5 guys out, he can, do a little bit more pre-snap and, make a read post-snap. But it's 3rd and 1. You lose the entire advantage of the threat of the run. When, you motion out Montgomery. Why is Montgomery in on that play? That's a whole other tangent. Can we talk about Montgomery at some point? We'll come back to that. Why is Montgomery in on that play just to motion him out? He's no threat to catch the ball out on the perimeter. And now you're just saying, okay, these 6 rushers. It looks like they're setting the entire house on this damn play.
Yep.
Just pin your ears back and go get Goff. Go strip the ball from him. And it happened. And part of that's Ben Johnson's play call. And what cracks me up is you can't be critical of anybody nowadays. Like I'm chopping it up with people, wherever I'm at with my buddies, with work friends. And, you make one negative comment about Ben Johnson play call. You go, oh, well, what about all the other plays?
Right.
Well, then we just don't ever talk about this game. We'll just move on with our life, and you can't criticize anybody. You can't talk about it. This is the fun of football, is nitpicking these play calls. That's part of what I love about it, is the chess match. Mm-hmm. That play call was brutally bad because you went empty. I'm sure Goff signed off on it. I'm sure Goff could have audibled out of it, and he didn't. Everything about that play was bad. And if we convert there, it's an entirely different game. That's the sad thing about it.
Oh, it is. I think that's where the game turned. I mean, obviously, a couple times in the game we got it back to a 1-possession game, and had at least a chance. But once he fumbled it and we lost that, because it felt like we weren't going to stop the Commanders' offense very often. So, like, if we got to stop, it was like, you have to capitalize on this. Yes. And then we gave the ball back to Jaden Daniels, and it was like, you could have gone up 14-3. And almost put this thing away. A 14-3 cushion with how bad our defense was playing felt like that's fine because our offense will just keep scoring. So this will be all right. Once you gave the ball back to him, I don't know about you guys, but I had a bad feeling in my gut. I was like, we can't lose the turnover battle in this game. And then Goff starts throwing interceptions and it goes downhill. But I mean, you guys just broke it down perfectly, because also that was 2-down territory. I mean, we know Dan Campbell, it's 3rd and 1. Run Montgomery. If he gets stuffed, okay, go for it again. And no one would have been mad at it. Then do the empty set if you want or whatever. But to do it right there, especially because Gibbs was averaging like 8 yards a carry. So whether you put Montgomery in or you just have Gibbs was doing whatever he wanted on the ground. So it was just very weird. And, along, like you said, Jared, nitpicking everything. And we're not coaches. We're just sitting here talking on a podcast. But we all love Montgomery. Why did they start the game with him at running back? I really do not understand it. Dude hasn't played in a month, and I know maybe you're wanting to prove he's healthy, he's good. We got Sonic and Knuckles back. Let's go. Let's do this. It's like, dude, Gibbs has been on a roll since Montgomery went down. We all know how bad Washington's run defense is. Why are you trotting Montgomery out there? Dude, his knee probably isn't even 100%. No. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he has like off-season surgery or something, And what does he do? The first 2 plays of the game, stuffed, incomplete pass on 3rd down, and we punted away. And I was like, there's not a worse way to start this game right now. Like, every Lions fan is like, where's Jahmyr Gibbs? What are we doing? Right. This dude is arguably the hottest player in the league right now, So
Tom Brady.
That, and then just some of the other calls, it was just it was a weird game.
Yeah, you felt
and you guys know I'm not the biggest Goff fan. He usually doesn't play that bad either. And I seriously wonder if that hit after that pick 6 when he got rocked. I don't know if I'm not saying he was concussed, but I think he was rattled. I think he was rattled for sure.
He was concussed, and honestly, I kind of love Brady's breakdown of that. He said, "Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do," and he basically said it without saying it. Sometimes you got to go in the blue tent, come back out, and you got to be ready to go. He was concussed. That's just the reality. I mean, if you look at
got rocked.
You look at the fact that he had to get examined right afterward. He's concussed. It's the reality, and it's sad because we know what that can mean. But you also kind of appreciate. I don't know. It's a weird gray area. You appreciate his willingness to go back in. It sucks that it didn't end up working well, and he didn't play great. A few back-breaking interceptions, including the biggest one, that pick 6. Yeah, the Montgomery thing. You're exactly right. The start of the game, what the hell are we doing? Think about this. Gibbs and Montgomery have been on we're acting like Montgomery is this Eric Dickerson veteran. It's like him and Gibbs have been on the Lions the same amount of time. Gibbs was the number 1 fantasy producer on like half the snaps of other running backs this year. Once he got the full workload, he's scoring. I'm winning on 35-1, 4 touchdown bets. He's the best player on the field, as Tom Brady himself said. What are we doing? Right. Montgomery should have maybe had 2-3 touches. We're still doing the whole Montgomery gets full drives thing when we're down 10 points. This guy is the best player on the field. Anytime he can get the ball, he can take it to the house. Why are we manufacturing Montgomery carries? Montgomery's a fine back. I like Montgomery a lot. Right. Use the hell out of him how we have been in the regular season. But when the chips are down and you need points and your best team is out there, Gibbs should not have left the field that entire second half.
Right.
What are we doing? Yep. And the fact that it's almost like a slap in the face to Gibbs that they started Montgomery. Montgomery just waltzes right back into his starting spot after Gibbs has literally been the best running back in football for the last month that he's been the main guy. Like, what are we doing? Did you have a problem with that, Ted?
Yes, I did. I mean, it goes back to that mentality. It's kind of old school philosophy that if you're a starter, you don't lose your job to an injury. And they had been using Montgomery as a starter throughout the year. But yeah, the role that Gibbs has been on, and like Matt laid out, he's your guy, man.
Right.
He's your guy. You fill in Montgomery. Maybe it's like on that 3rd and 1, you bull him into the line,
Right.
But
he has his role, but his role is now it should be reduced in playoff games and must-win games. It should be reduced to a backup role. That's just the reality. A goal line role, 3rd and short, 4th and short, punching a few touchdowns. That's what he is now. When Gibbs is looking as good. Gibbs is that guy. It's more a compliment to Gibbs than a negative on Montgomery. Gibbs is number 2 running back in the entire league, I would say, behind Saquon. Like, run this guy. What are we doing?
Right.
It's just depressing. Everything about it. The one part of the game that we got to talk about, which was just absolute theater, you couldn't take your eyes off the screen. So Goff throws pick 6, gets absolutely rocked. We all are thinking, okay, let's see what Hendon Hooker's about. All of a sudden, out
comes Teddy Bridgewater,
high school state champion Bridgewater, and the announcer, is it Burkhart, had the perfect line. Yeah. This is absolute. We have a delay or a false start, excuse me. And Burkhart says perfectly, this is absolute nightmare fuel for Lions fans. It was like, oh shit, offs out for the game. This 3rd round pick, who we've all been thinking is waiting in the wings, about to maybe take the league by storm if he ever gets the chance, clearly is just not any good, really. And we're relying on Teddy Two Gloves to try to bring us back. But then J-Mo as maybe the play of the season, my play of my lifetime as a Lions fan, in terms of just, wow, this is electric. House is it. And now we got vibes rolling. Play later. Isn't that when they ran that wide receiver screen and just basically eradicated that entire eradicated that touchdown? But that whole 2-minute sequence, I mean, tell me you weren't eating the popcorn and like couldn't take your eyes off the screen during that. That's football at its best, that 5-minute period.
Yep. I mean, it was definitely a realization that, wow, they really do not trust Hendon Hooker at all, because Teddy Bridgewater was in high school a couple weeks ago. But he came out and he actually, I forget if it was the 2nd or 3rd down, he completed a big pass. I mean, he dropped back and dropped a dime for a 1st down, and then they ran that reverse, and Ted Bridgewater actually threw a little block for J-Mo to spring him free. So it was like, hey, man, Bridgewater did his job. Yep. But what the funniest part about that, too, everything you said is spot on. J-Mo, after his touchdown, is humping the ground in the end zone. Awesome. And then this is the guy that we're going to trust to throw a pass in the 4th down when we're down 10 points. In hindsight, now it's like, this is the guy you're trusting to throw a pass in the playoffs, huh? Okay. That makes a lot of sense. But no, that was a wild sequence for sure.
So, for you guys, I don't know about you. I couldn't sleep that night. My wife couldn't sleep. It was major depression set in. You were at a little party, Jared, I know. And Matt, what were your just initial thoughts after that game?
Honestly, my initial thoughts were what we said last year after the 49ers NFC title game, that maybe that was the one that we had to win. That, we were right there, 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game and couldn't finish it. Yep. And Dan Campbell said after that game that you can't, I forget what his exact words were, but he was basically, you'll never know if you're back in this position again, because there we are, number 1 seed, home field advantage, arguably the best Lions team ever, and we get upset by a rookie quarterback in Detroit. And it was just like, geez, is this ever going to happen? Like, this is the year if it was ever going to happen. We had the easiest path laid out. We had the worst team, coming to Detroit, worst team as far as seed. All we had to do was win that one, then NFC title game. We knew the coordinators were going to be gone, so everything's going to be different. And then it also told me, again, before I ramble on too much, again, I'm not a Goff hater. Goff is not my favorite quarterback ever. I think we see that he's a good quarterback. He is top 15 in the league probably. But I think there's a clear ceiling with him. And I think we see it now. You have to be mobile in the NFL to have a ton of success. I mean, even Matthew Stafford can run a little bit, Goff, he'll scramble 2 or 3 times a game. But I think you just see the limitations with Goff. And I wonder, all the fans that hate Ben Johnson now, I hope we hire a good coordinator, because, our window to win is like right now. I mean, once everyone on the defense gets healthy, this team is still really good. So I hope they hire, which they will, but I hope they hire the right coordinator, because you've got Jared Goff. He's the quarterback. I mean, they've got him signed under contract. He's the guy. So you've got to build an offense that works with him. And I think we kind of saw, like, he has limitations. Maybe that's me still being a Matt Stafford fan, but
I think it is.
Yeah. He's got like, to me, he had horrendous plays in that game, but to overlook the defense, like, you can't expect Jay Goff to put up 45. That's not, like, think about it, 28 points. Yeah, he had an interception at that point and a fumble. 28 points with 7 minutes left in the third quarter. Defense just literally could not get off. It's like, almost when you force a quarterback to make that many plays, unless you're Tom freaking Brady, who I think he's the only guy when you throw like 50 plus passes has like a winning record. And I don't think Goff threw 50 passes, but it's like you're almost asking for this shit to go wrong at some point. So he did not look good. I agree. Like, I mean, if you think about it, what's the difference in that game? Obviously, our defense is
turnovers.
So it's not even the same. Turnovers. I mean, Daniels does look that amazing, where it's like,
he's
wow, this one man can really swing a franchise. And maybe Goff isn't that, one man swing a franchise, but he's good enough. I still believe he's good enough to win us a Super Bowl. You just can't expect him to put up 45 week after week, especially in prime time in playoff games. Mistakes are going to happen. He's going to sail passes. He's going to get concussed. But no, my takeaway as soon as that game ended was, thankfully, we were not fully healthy and this happened. If we were fully healthy and that happened, you look at everything different. You look at, man, we're never really going to be close. But the fact that we know we're going to be full strength next year, I know we're losing coordinators, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have guys in the field than some certain coordinator calling those plays. So I'm excited to get back to full strength. But, man, the lingering feeling was just embarrassment. I mean, the Lions and our team has been riding that positivity wave from the national media, from everybody, favorites to win the Super Bowl. So you knew people were just waiting as soon as we lost and embarrassed ourselves to jump down our throat, even some of our own Lions fans. So it just was a brutal 24 hours afterward where you really felt like, wow, we are clowns. And this rookie quarterback and rookie defensive back, who we all know all too well, Mike Sanders still, who, man, I really loved him when he was on our team, really hate him when we have to play against him, just kind of embarrassed us. And you're hearing clips and Amon-Ra's talking about how they're doing interviews post-game, and you can hear the Commanders celebrating in the locker room next door. I mean, it must have been hell. That was an embarrassing loss that really – it's kind of like the Vikings versus the Lions, where it was such an embarrassing loss, it kind of undoes everything that happened before it. Right. Now you just look back and this season was a waste. I don't care if we won 15 games. Let me ask you guys this. The NFC North, I mean, maybe the most overrated conference of all time, or division of all time. Apparently. It honestly reminds me of, and I'm not saying SEC is still damn good. It honestly kind of reminded me of the college football season this year. SEC, they beat each other up. You had the belief that they were so damn good because they beat each other. And then you get into the open world and start losing some of these games. I mean, the NFC North 0-3 in the playoffs. It was bad, man.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the prep spotlight, I do got to touch on the national championship, Ohio State. Here's how I'll just say it. I watched it at the start of the victory formation. I went right to Netflix. I wasn't watching that post-game celebration. I'll tell you that much.
I appreciate that you even watched that far. I mean, I watched. I turned it on in the first quarter a little bit when it was a little bit of a game, and I was like, okay, cool. I stayed on probably until Ohio State went up 2 touchdowns, and I was like, there's no way Notre Dame's coming back from this. Ohio State was just on an absolute roll, and good for them. I'm seeing all the graphics of like their championship T-shirts, with all the records and the schedule and stuff on the back. Mm-hmm. Still has that Michigan loss on there, so that's still sweet to see as Michigan fans or whatever. But I don't know what you guys think, and I think I brought it up or we've talked about it a little bit, but I'm very curious if, I'm not saying like next year, but if this starts to trend towards rivalry games and conference championships not mattering as much. Because, I mean, they finished 4th in the Big Ten, didn't win the Big Ten. Like we just said, didn't beat Michigan this year, still won the national title. And people are trying to say, like, is this the best team ever? They had 2 regular season losses. I mean, they went on a historic playoff run, but no, they're not the best team ever. 2 regular season losses. And I just wonder if it's going to trend towards our team's going to start resting guys going to the conference championship game because it really doesn't matter. like before the game at the end of the year, if both Michigan and Ohio State are already slotted for the playoff, are they not going to take that game as serious? I'm curious how this in the future affects college football altogether.
Right. Yeah, I expect they're going to expand the playoffs, and they should just get rid of these conference championship games. That's just my thought. I don't think they will, but that's what they should do, and then just finish the season with the championship game earlier than they did too.
That's a big.
Yeah, and that's what everybody was saying. It's like I don't know how, but just that one extra week. Maybe it's because we're in Lions country here, and we were still dealing with that loss. The game kind of came out of nowhere, and we're in NFL mode by now.
Yep.
So it'd be nice if they could truncate that schedule just a little bit. And we know the issue with the buys in the playoff where it felt like all 4 bye teams lost and they all came out sluggish. Like maybe if you just shrink that gap down just a hair, you can make that week back somewhere.
Yep.
But to me, it's the thing that – hold on. Okay, the 12-team playoff. Here's where I'm going with this. The 12-team playoff. Agreed, Matt. It definitely took a little bit of the wind out of Michigan sails and that rivalry game sails. It really mattered. It didn't matter. It mattered to us, and it definitely matters to Ohio State. They still think about that loss a lot, but they still went on to win a national championship. So it kind of ruined that game and agreed with the conference championship. They finished 4th. They still win the national title. They still look like head and shoulders the best team in the country. Yep. But to me, why the 12-team playoff still works, and I actually heard this from Ari Shafir on Andy Staples. That's not his last name. Ari
Wasserman.
Wasserman. There you go. He basically said the 12-team playoff is a bummer because of things like that where Ohio State can lose a big game against Michigan. Doesn't matter. But it got us Arizona State. And Arizona State, we would never have heard about them. They wouldn't have made the 4-team playoff. Scatabo is a college football legend forever because he got that chance to play Texas. And they probably could have easily won that game. We all know that. So to me, it has its downsides, it has its positives, but overall, I think it's a good thing because we get to see teams like Arizona State duke it out on the field rather than being left out of the bracket entirely. So I still think the 12-team playoff is a good thing. Still some things to iron out, but overall, seeing these teams play in these matchups, it's a cool thing.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get into Pistons and Red Wings and college basketball next podcast, but we're going to move along, take a short break, and do the Prep Spotlight right after this. Here we go, guys. The Prep Spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency, local, independent, and trusted. And I know they like being a sponsor. They got business from this podcast last week, but we'll jump right into it. Tuesday night in boys basketball, Ovid Elsie over Mount Morris, 87-61. Trice Tokar and Tucker Loins, 24 each as the Marauders pulled into a first-place tie with Mount Morris atop the MMAC. In Monday night's basketball, Chesaning over Corunna, 53-43. Braden Florian hit for 16. On Tuesday, the Indians improved to 10-3, smacking Lakeville, 83-35. Brady Sager, 24 in that one. Last Friday night at the Warehouse, Owasso, 49-36 over Corunna. Trojans ended a 7-game losing streak to the Cavs in front of a packed house. Evan Norton led the way with a dozen. Other games, Durand over New Lothrop, 60-28. Levi Smith, 15 for the Railroaders. And Perry over Lansing Christian, 46-44. Alex McEwen picked up a double-double with 13 points, 19 rebounds. Usually don't talk about this team, but it's kind of a neat milestone. KJ Tolbert, Kelvin Torbert's son, had hit the 1,000-point milestone in East Lansing as they beat Okemos, his former team, 78-67 in double overtime. Pretty good game there. Yeah.
I didn't know. It's good that Okemos has a good team this year. I mean, God, we know about their football program. Right. So they usually are pretty damn good in basketball. So good to hear that they are competing with the best.
Absolutely. Corunna down to Wasso in girls basketball, 49-41. Rachel Steinecker had 17 for the 7-3 Cavs. And just to finish it up, guys, just blow my own horn a little bit here. Celebrating a 40th anniversary of my first broadcast. That's coming up this Saturday, the 26th. It's the 40th anniversary of Corunna at Alma. Cavaliers lost 56-46 in 1985. Wow. And it's
do you have the record of that?
I do. I mean, it's just terrible quality, but I might be able to pull a clip out of it, maybe, if you want to hear how horrendous I was back then. It's kind of fitting, too, because Casey has a gig with Chi-Town coming up on the 31st. So it's only a few days after that anniversary, and I'm going to be back in the saddle doing some play-by-play of probably the game of the year to this point in our area, Chesaning at Ovid Elsie. So
nice.
That'll be fun to get back into it.
Heck yeah.
you know what? I was listening to your guys' broadcast this past Friday where you stepped in as the third mic, and you couldn't help but overhear the Jared Goff chants during the Corona Wasso game, and hopefully those are retired by now. No offense to Jared Goff, I've been over him for a year now. What did you even talk about that game, or what? I mean, I know Corona lost, just the depressing loss, or what was your view?
Well, first, give credit to Owasso. They played well. They played hard. Dave Owens has a pretty good squad that, plays well together. I think Corona has some things they got to clean up. And one thing is tough to clean up. They're struggling for shooters. I mean, at least in that game and what I've been following all year long, if you can't shoot the ball and put it in the basket, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you got to be able to score in basketball, especially high school basketball, where scoring is usually low. If you're already struggling there, that's tough. But
absolutely. But we're heading down the stretch in high school basketball. So, tune in next Friday night if you want to hear the old man do a game.
For old time's sake. Not spry like you used to be, right?
Remember, so think about the Michigan-Illinois game and how they did that retro throwback, like it opened.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Get in the creative book. Come up with some sort of way to tie it back 40 years of broadcasting. Maybe you do an open the same way you would have in 1985. Food for thought, man. You could really make it something pretty neat for the listeners.
Hey, something to think about. I got a week to put it together. Sounds good. All right, guys. I know we're under a time crunch, so let's close out this pod and gather again here in a few days. I want to thank the people at Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center. I'm so glad to be back in the fold there. A lot of fitness classes, a lot of good stuff going on, and it's the matter of just warming up the car before I head out. That's for sure.
Right.
I also want to thank our other partners, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook & Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, Shiawassee County Fair and the ALS of Michigan. Anytime you get a chance, tell these sponsors you listen to this podcast. It goes a long way. Also, our game of the week coming up on Z92.5 this Friday night. Casey and Joe will be courtside, as it'll be New Lothrop at Chesaning, another neighborhood battle there. Peace and love, everybody. Be kind. Thanks again for listening.